Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I hope everyone's having a good week. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Brian Jennings. This is my channel, which exists as a method of therapy for me to discuss openly, honestly, the nature of my relationship with show business and specifically Quentin Tarantino. I grow weary of going through the whole thing every time, but I wrote him a series of letters which set into motion a sequence of events that led to him first canceling the film and now to what it is now. And so what it is now is a condition where he keeps me in perpetual fear. That it's a dangerous psychic siege. He's a powerful psychic clairvoyant who wants me to believe that he intends to murder me. I've written everyone around him 1,000 times. It does me no good to write them. I've left voicemails to his agent. Right? These are tactics that he can always deny. So that's why we're talking about it. If you recall, we're going through this book, Spherical Models, Magnus Weiniger. This is someone's Bible. This is a very important book in terms of design, mathematics, philosophy, architecture. And we're making all of the models. And the reason that we're doing that is because the mathematical rigor associated with creating each of the models imbibes within the student, I pray do not mock me, fellow student, a lovely, immaculate harmony, which thereby fortifies their psyche, makes their mind more adequate, and compounds upon the clairvoyant facility. And so the first few looked rather rough, but here's one of the newer ones that looks quite nice. Cube octahedron. You see how it's a smooth curve. I guess. So triangles, 8 triangles, 6 squares. And so I'm working on my newest one, which is the rhombi cube octahedron. Rhombi cosododecahedron, pardon me. And so that is 12 pentagons, 20 triangles, and 30 squares. And so if you recall, my breaking down how this works is that each of the edges are defined by two triangles. 1, 2, that's an edge. So each square requires 8 triangles. Each triangle requires 6 triangles. So the reason I don't have the newest one finished is because it's so arduous. It's so incredibly tedious. And if we have 12 pentagons, that's 120 triangles. If we have 20 triangles, that's another 120 triangles. So that's 240. And if we have 30 squares times 8, that's another 240. So that's 480 triangles. And so here's an example. This is all of the triangles in one of the squares. And so that took, just to glue it, took 2.5 hours, 3 hours. That doesn't include cutting it out. I know that at some point I have to just accept that he's just going to be evil and plague my mind with dangerous visions of evil constantly. But there's nothing I can do about it. Everyone that's around him, he just says, "Oh gosh, I don't know how unfortunate he's lost his mind." And they say, "Well, that's our auteur. He knows best." And I'm trying to see past it. I don't want to be in his life. It's done. I get it. Right? Like, we're done. Right? Like, you see me as an enemy. I get it. I get it. You had no right to still be upset with me. because we're all allowed to live how we want to live. But it's just ugly. It's just ugly. It's so ugly. It's so dangerously evil, and it's all to make me put a bullet in my mouth, to make me kill myself. And so it is that much harder when everyone that's around me has a clear channel to proving me delusional, which is to say, reaching out to William Moore's Endeavor, to his agent, Mike Simpson, 9601 Wilshire Boulevard, and saying, what is the truth between Quentin Tarantino and Brian Jennings? And that's like, it's frustrating for sure that I tell them these things, and they just immediately say, oh, well, Quentin's famous, so Brian must be delusional, without ever actually considering that what I'm saying is true. And so that's where the New York Times, right, the Guardian, all of these journalistic bodies that they say, oh, we care about journalistic integrity. Like, that's like what we're interested in, right? When I reach out to them and they reach out to Quentin and he says, oh, he's a crazed fan, right? Then they do nothing else. Like, of course he's gonna say, like, the things that I'm alleging are as disgusting and evil as it gets. It doesn't get any uglier. And there's a twofold reason here, right, for me discussing it. The first of which is to save my life. And the second of which is to save both of our immortal souls. And his is gone. So, let's take some time and talk about that for a little while. Pribram and Bohm's holographic model alleges that in every cubic centimeter of space, in terms of information, lies the potential for all manifested reality, all stratas, all convocations simultaneously. And embedded within that is a conscious field. Sometimes I refer to it as the impetus for motion, the divine light of deity. And so, the psychic clairvoyant, right, the remote viewer, though they likely do not understand this in the way that the poets in Socrates' Apology, his trial, were not able to explain where their poetry came from. Most clairvoyants cannot explain what it is that's actually occurring. But what is occurring is that consciousness is everywhere, right? That the universe is a conscious field. And so, the psychic clairvoyant, the remote viewer, is doing one of two things, or perhaps both of them. They're pushing their consciousness out to a disparate locale, or perhaps bringing the disparate locale to them in meditation. Sometimes these things are referred to as astral projection. Right? And so that's why I make all of these models, because I allege that space is like a coin, that the first half of the coin is the conscious field, and the second half is the archetypal spatial structuring for all of manifested reality. And that exists, as with the impetus for motion, the divine light of deity, perpetually in a state of rest, as an infinite complex nesting of polyhedra. Here's a compound of 40 tetrahedra, though it's falling apart. Nice square, 20 pointing up, 20 pointing down. Merkaba, star tetrahedron. Here's another one. Here's another one. Here's another one. All within all structure embedded within all. Here's another one. So perfectly nested inside of each other that they dissolve into seeming non-existence. So immaculate and dense in their nesting that it is impossible for it to express the totality of the structural scaffold physically. And so it must degrade itself through kinetic corruption. And so if we say that the impetus for motion exists diffused unilaterally within the subspatial structuring, then eventually the divine light of God, the impetus for motion, right, which actually hovers above the impetus for motion as well as the structural scaffolding, seeks to see a piece of its knowing. And so it does this by exerting pressure as motion upon it. And so I like to use this one as an example. If we close this in a sphere and then cast a circle around the surface of the sphere, that's called a great circle because it bisects the volume of the sphere. Each one of the degrees in 360 degrees of the circle represent a potential vector of pressure upon the structural manifold, which yields a novel physical condition. An infinite potential of great circles surrounds this complex, which represents structurally all of manifested reality, which therefore offers you a window into the dignity of God's omniscience. That God alone sees all. And so each one of the degrees of the angles with which the impetus for motion exerts pressure upon the manifold is a reflection of what we see it materialize as in the physical world. And so as it exerts pressure, it collapses. And so as it collapses, it engenders electric resistance as space grating against itself as friction, until the pressure, the electric resistance, becomes so great that it can no longer remain inert space and erupts into incandescence as physical matter. First, as chemical elements, all the way up through atmospheric strata, mineral, vegetable, animal, man, complex cellular structure. Right? And so when I say things like our immortal souls, right? When I talk about those things that are aloof, and you could say, oh, that's not very scientific in your reasoning, right? It's because clairvoyance is a soul energy game, right? That there's this, this thing that makes you an individual is also a divine condition that exists perpetually in every cubic centimeter of space. And through the harnessing of your mind, through being still, you can tap into the conscious field and behave just like that abstract intellectual quality. God is not a creature in creation. There's nothing to pray to. There's no heaven. There's no hell. Things emerge from the seeming dead space, though it's inert space, it's not dead, and then returns to space once more. This is how it always works. That heaven is, if there's anything, it's nirvana, which is a psychological condition. That heaven and hell are all tactics to make the peasants pay their taxes. That's it. So, when you devote your clairvoyance to good things, you can get good things to come out of it. You can have beautiful moments where you heal the sick, where you bring people together. And in that way, my knowing failed me. I admit that. But I don't consider it to be a death sentence. And if you don't focus on the good things, if you focus on the ugly things, right, then you degrade your immortal soul by being a vessel for malevolence, which is the claims that I'm alleging. So, this is the real trouble with the New York Times, right? With all of these institutions that say, oh, we care about journalistic integrity. Like, there's nothing else. So you just don't need to see anything else. You don't need to speak to me at all. Right? And perhaps he did tell them about Tribeca. Right? That's likely what he says. Yeah, I gave him a chance, but he shows them a document. He lies to them. There was no document. It's a fucked up mind game from the get-go. And so, when he stuck his nose up at my writing, I decided to turn my back on him like he turned his back on me. And I hated myself forever. And this is why I'm in fear, because he spent so much time remote viewing me that he has engendered a condition in his psyche that he's engendered a condition psychologically in him and whomever has been helping him, because they've all spent so much time remote viewing me that we're bound together beyond space and time. And this is what makes me think that he's at his breaking point psychologically. I don't make these claims arbitrarily. He's getting worse. Right? He's getting worse because he wants me to blow my brains out. That's right. And so the real point that I'm driving at is that if someone is making claims about you being the most evil man in the world, I would never just take that lying down. And so I'm insane and he's evil. These are the two positions. I suppose that I'll stop. I'm moving out. Likely the next time you see me make a video, I'll be somewhere else. Downtown. And so that's nice. I can play guitar. Pick up women. Right? Build my coven. I know I'll never be able to finish my novel. I know I'm going to have to write another one. He'll never let me. So, I only want good things for him. I don't want to fight. I've never been fighting. I've just been enduring. I've been surviving. That's all. And anyone who's around him, right? If anyone that I knew, someone was making these allegations, nah, we're not friends anymore. No. I don't care about money. I don't care about any of that. Man, these are the ugliest, most evil allegations that anyone could ever make. And so I invite you all to look into my video. It's called A Plea to the Pope. And so, tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry?